What's up, my people? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and all the other kind of things that I like to talk about. Story times and mom stuff and just my everyday struggles. So what's going on, everybody? It's Friday. I love Fridays. I love Fridays because I only work Monday through Friday, so I have the weekends off. And I'm really blessed to have a job where I can go in whatever time I want to, um, just as long as it's during the day, and get my job done. And then I have the rest of the day off. So it's pretty cool. I can go in like really early and get my shit done, and then come home and have the rest of the day to, do housework, be with my son, come be with you guys. Um, now that I'm like getting my schedule down with Nate being in school, I've been like being able to get all the laundry done, which is something that I used to really struggle with. And so for you guys who have kids, y'all will understand what I'm talking about. And so tonight is part 3 of my addiction story. Um, if you guys know anybody that would like to come over and listen to this story, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and share it on Facebook, share it in your recovery group, share it on Twitter. Just share this video. Let's get everybody over here, and then we'll start. Hey, Jamie, we'll start where we left off last night, which was when I met my husband, which of course he wasn't my husband then, but y'all know what I mean. So how's everybody's day? I hope you guys are all having a really good day. I hope that everybody's staying on the right track and making good making good decisions, making good choices. It's not always easy to make good decisions, especially when you're first early in recovery, because you don't have a lot of time between you and your drug of choice. So I can tell you this, the longer you stay sober, the more time you put in between you and your drug of choice, the easier it gets to make better choices. Believe me, I mean, at least that's been my experience. But I do have, I have seen people that struggled, and I know it sucks, but you know what the good thing about it is? You can always, hopefully, you always have tomorrow, but that's the thing. The way addiction is nowadays, the way drugs are now, is you could die. They're putting fentanyl in everything.
I said you to give me a snack.
Good job, Leah. Okay, y'all, Leah just had her 6 months sober. Good job. Hey, I'm so proud of you, girl. I'm so proud of you. You guys, Leah messages me a lot on Instagram, and sometimes we talk on the phone. And when I remember when I first met you, you were so scared to talk on the phone and very socially had social anxiety really bad. And now we talk quite a bit, and so it just goes to show you, like, when you're staying sober and you're trying and making an effort to, like, get to know somebody, you don't have to get to know, like, pick somebody that you can trust, and share your life with that person, and see if they can help you, guide you, because it's really, it's just all about supporting each other and helping each other, you guys. That's what recovery is all about. We can't do it alone. I just messaged you on Hangouts yesterday, girl. I got your text message, but I've been laying in the bed sleeping. You literally just were on here yesterday, Shauna, on my live stream, girl. We talked yesterday on the phone. I got your message, though, about your therapist and about the her giving you the list or whatever. Okay, so y'all ready? Nate, what do you need from me before I start this story?
Can I just, what kind of snack do we just have?
We got peanut butter and jelly. We got turkey sandwiches. We got Alfredo. We got crackers. We got juice. We got chocolate milk.
Got the crackers.
Yes.
I think I want the chips. Ardo, where Ardo? Can I have those little crackers?
Yeah, come and get the cracker bag.
In the bag.
Yeah, come and get them. Before I start my story time. All right, you guys, we're going to take Nate, go get him some crackers and stuff, and let him get settled, and then we're going to start the story. All right. I've just been kind of like, it's not that cold, you guys, but it's like, I'm tired. But I'll have to tell you this. Today, I worked almost 8 hours today, which is... I usually don't have to work that many hours in a day. I usually, only have to work half a day. And so, when I got off work, I was exhausted. Totally exhausted, y'all. So that's why I've kind of been hibernating until I came over here to tell you guys the rest of the story time. Because I didn't want to let y'all down and not come and do the story. So I was taking a nap. So hold on. Nate, come and get your crackies. Excuse me. Okay. Let me get myself focused, y'all. Okay. Hey, Bama. All right, y'all. I hope, is XC Trail here? Because I saw him asking if I was coming on, and I don't want to disappoint. Okay, let's prop y'all up real good. Shauna, as soon as we get done with this, I will text you, and we will talk about whatever you need to talk about, girl. I was just taking a nap. I was tired. Okay, so we left off yesterday. We left off when I met Neal. Okay. So here we go. So I had already been into my coma for 7 days, and my parents had come to see me in the hospital. You know, it was crazy, you guys. I was just out of it. All my internal organs were shutting down. So I got out of the hospital, and, like I told you guys, while I was in the hospital, living with Mr. Lawrence, and I remember I was paying him like $350 to stay there. Well, him and his girlfriend Nicole had a baby, and they wanted me to leave, which is totally understandable because they had a baby, even though they were also active addicts. I mean, I was imposing on their privacy. You dig? So I got my stuff and I left just like that. Like, when you're living at the mercy of other people, like you're living on their couches, you're living in their living room, you're living in the spare bedroom, wherever, when they ask you to go, you got to go. So I got my stuff, packed it up, and you guys, like, I had bags and boxes and purses and clothes, and I had a household full of things that I would carry from place to place with me, it was easy when I had a car. But remember, my car got impounded, so I sold it. And I used all the money on Roxy's. And literally went through those in like one night. So, well, maybe it was a little bit longer than one night. 3 days. We'll say it. 3 days. So, I moved in with Kaylee and Hunter. And we were all actively using. The way I met Hunter was I was in rehab. And he was dating a girl that was in the rehab, and we went to it was a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, right? We went to this Cocaine Anonymous meeting, and he was there, and he was real cool. Just you guys, I don't know what it is, but like I always get along with guys, and their girlfriends end up liking me too, because I'm not a threat. Like, I'm just trying to hang out. You know what I'm saying? I just want to do my drugs and be left alone. And so when I met Kaylee, she was like, hey, we have a spare bedroom, we have a couch with a fold-out bed. You can move in. And I was like, okay, that's perfect for me. That's all I need. I'm easy. I don't take up too much space. I'll be real quiet. Well, yeah, I'll be real quiet. I'll be fucking nodded out all the time. And I have a job. I can pay y'all rent, right? So we agreed on it, and I moved right in. I was sleeping on the couch. And Kaylee had a little daughter. I'm not going to say her daughter's name, but she was a young girl, maybe 4 years old. And so me living there, I had to babysit the little girl all the time. Like, Kaylee would go to work because only me and Kaylee worked. Her boyfriend didn't. And Hunter would sleep all day long. And I would have to babysit the little girl. So this is already not like the ideal living situation, but it had to work because I had nowhere else to go. So Hunter and Kaylee would give me a ride to work every morning because I had to be at my job at 6 o'clock in the morning, you guys. I would work from 6 to 2. Yeah, basically. And I would work from 6 to 2, and then they would come pick me up. And I was making good money. Like, my paychecks were real good, so we would get real fucked up on the weekends because I got paid every Thursday. So life was good, you guys. It was good, you know. It was good in the sense that for my drug addiction, we were getting high, partying every weekend. Now that I look back on the way we were doing so much shit, and her daughter was there, and I feel so horrible about that. You know what I mean? Like, I would never do that now, and I'm aware of that now. You know what I mean? But back then, those things didn't even cross my mind. Like, I had tunnel vision. The only thing I could see was drugs, was Roxy's, was Xanax, was meth. So one night, we decided we were going to get some meth. And, you know, that was basically my favorite besides Roxy's. So I was like, woohoo, let's get it. And we got some, and we got high. We were up all night long, and about fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, my friend came over. Casey came over, but he brought a friend with him. Oh, I'm going to get to that in just a second, Caleb. Listen, I was there for 3.5 years, you guys. I worked at this job for 3.5 years. The first 5 months of the job, I got promoted. So I got promoted to a assistant manager position. All right, I'm doing real good at the job. The thing about it was this lady who was over the job, she really, really liked me, and I was really a good worker. So what she would do is she would take me to Memphis with her. She would take me to fix other stores because she could tell me, hey, Nicole, go in that deli. I want you to rearrange everything, clean the walls, get the grease out of there, make it fucking pristine. And I would get my tweak on and go in there and clean that motherfucker. So that's what I would do. And she used me to do that, you know? And she was trying to give me a chance because her son was actually an addict. So she had been through it with her son. So she was trying to help me. She didn't want to fire me. She was such a good person, y'all. I'm not going to say her name because I just don't want to put her out there like that. But she was such a good person, you guys. She still wants me to come back to that job to this day. So I'm sitting on the couch. We're up. It's been like, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And Neal and my friend Casey walk in. And I'd never seen Neal before. I'd never met him. And he was sitting on the arm of the couch. And I looked over, and y'all, I thought I was such a pimp back then. I was like, you are so cute. I'm feeling your vibe. And he was like, you know, I could tell that he was kind of like not used to having girls like hit on him or whatever. He was just like so polite and so sweet. But he was high too. So we all decided we were going to go and jump in his truck and get a hotel room because we wanted to stay up, and Kaylee and Hunter wanted the house to themselves. So me, Casey, and Neal went and got a hotel room. And me and Neal stayed up all night long, you guys, talking to each other. We totally ignored Casey, and we just stayed up talking all night long, high as hell. Talking about our upbringing, talking about what we believed in, talking about like how many kids we wanted, just like all kinds of stuff like that. Just getting to know each other. And I gave him my number. They dropped me off the next day, and I went to work. And he called me 2 days later on a Thursday. Right? Was it a Thursday? Maybe it wasn't. It was just like 2 days later. So he called me, hey, classy. So he called me 2 days later, and he was like, hey, do you want to go out and you want to get another hotel room, right? I was so offended. I was like, no, I don't want to get another hotel room. What do you think I am, a prostitute? You know, I was like, and he was like, okay, well, let's go on a date. You know, we can go walk in, we can go to the park. I can take you to get something to eat, you know, like what do you want to do? Like, we hadn't been on dates before in a long time. We both were like really rusty. And so we decided to go just like to the park and hang out and go walking and stuff and then get something to eat afterward. But guess what? I had to babysit. So I had the kid with me. So me, Neal, Kaylee, Hunter, and that baby, or their daughter, they came with us too. But I had the kid, which was like, why? I'm on a date here, you guys. But they're with us, but I'm paying attention to the daughter. So we go to this place called the Big Dam Bridge, and it's like this big walking trail, and then they've got a big old bridge over the river, and we just walked and talked and like held each other's hands. It was so like teenager-ish, you know what I mean? But I knew, like, after I knew that I liked him so much because Neal treated me like I deserved to be treated. You know, I might have been strung out, you guys, but I was still a woman and a good person. And he would open the car door for me. He would pay the bill when we would go out to eat. He would buy me things just to surprise me. He just treated me with love and respect. And I had never been treated like that before by a guy. You know, every guy I had dated, LD, beat my ass every day. Robert thought I needed to lose more weight all the time and told me how I needed to lose weight all the time. And Joe was just a prison boy, just took advantage of me. Totally took advantage of me. And I just absolutely, I was like, wow, you know what? He is like treating me like a queen. He was treating me like my dad told me that men are supposed to treat girls, right? And so I didn't know how to react to that because I was just like, it felt so awkward to me because I had been used to getting beat up by my boyfriends. I had been used to getting called names and cursed out. Like, Neal treated me so good, you guys. I was so blown away. I was blown away. So I was like, you know what? I'm not letting this guy go. Well, I had court in a week because I had gotten a theft charge. And so I had to go to court and, like, you know, pay some fines and stuff like that. So I went to court and I was at work and I didn't have a way to get to court because, remember, I lost my car. My car got impounded and I sold it for money and to get drugs. So Neal brought me his truck up to my work and let me take his truck, and I dropped him off at work. And we had only been dating for 2 weeks. I took his truck, and it was a nice truck, you guys. He drove a Nissan Xterra, silver, really nice. And here I am, like, this just strung out drug addict, and he's like, oh, here, you can have my car. You know, take my car and take care of it, and then just pick me up when you get done. And I was like, here's the thing. Neal saw the goodness in me. He knew I was a good person. Even though I was strung out and I was on drugs, he knew that I was a good woman, you know, and I had just gone down a wrong path. Well, I took his truck and I went to court and I got done, and I was just like really not feeling well. I think I was like going through withdrawal and really struggling, right? And I was crying to him about, you know, being in withdrawal and not feeling good. And he said, well, you know, I'm on methadone. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I get prescribed 360 methadone, 10 a month. And I was just like, holy shit. We can split it, those, and I can get off of Roxy's and I can be sober, right? Wrong. Yeah, we split them all right, but I didn't get sober. I got so strung out on those methadone pills that I lost like 20 pounds. My hair started falling out. I had a huge bald spot right here, you guys, where my hair fell completely out of my head. Because all I would do was smoke meth and eat methadone and maybe drink a Mountain Dew. Well, one night, well, you guys got to understand that Neal basically moved in with me and was living on the couch with me at Alien Hunter's house. And so he would take me to work and then he would go to work, right? And so we were just like making it work. One night we had been up and we were like really need to go to sleep. So we went to sleep and then we woke up and I was just like really still like, so I took a couple of Xanaxes and he took me and dropped me off at work. I was probably there for 2.5, 3 hours and my boss is like, hey, I need you to come here. And I was like, what? He's like, come here. I need to take you to take a drug test. I was like, okay, fine. So I got in the car. We get to the drug testing place, and I'm like, I'm not fucking drug testing. And he was like, okay. You know, like, if you're not going to take this drug test, then I'm going to have to let you go, right? I called Neal, and I was just bawling my eyes out, you guys, because I had been at this job for 3.5 years. Like, this was the only way I was making any kind of living. This is the only way that I was able to stay on drugs. This is the only way I was able to, like, have anything. Like, pay people to live in their house. I mean, like, if I didn't have this job, I would be fucking homeless in the street, you know, underneath a bridge somewhere. So, when I lost my job, it was go time. Like, I was freaking out. Well, guess what happened? Neal lost his job too. I don't know what they thought, but they had been watching me for about a year because I had problems about 6 months prior to that. And I had promised them, you know, like, I'm going to be sober. And what was happening was they would see me coming into work and I would have the long sleeves on. Remember how I stayed up all night and I went into the coma for 7 days? Well, I missed work because of all that. And then I would come into work with my long johns on. And so they knew what was going on, but they were like really trying to give me chances, you guys. They were really trying to like work with me, you know. They were like hoping I was going to get sober and I was going to pull it together and like succeed at the end, you know. And I thought I would be able to, but what happened was like I would white knuckle it for like a month, maybe 2 weeks, and I would come into work and I would do so well and they would see me like producing and doing a great job, and then it would kind of like leave the back of their mind, and then I'd come in all fucked up and then I'd straighten back up and then I'd come in all fucked up. You know what I mean? And so it was just like a back and forth. They put so much like effort into trying to help me. They offered me treatment. They, even had this lady that I worked with that was in the 12-step fellowship that offered to sponsor me. Her name was Lee, and I actually let her be my sponsor, but y'all know I didn't do nothing she said. So it was just like I had exhausted all my chances. And y'all, this is the short version of the story I'm telling you guys. Like, if I could tell you guys all the things I put that job through, I never stole from my job, because I had to keep the job. But I would go in there so twisted, so messed up. Like, I'm surprised they kept me that long. It was horrible. And and listen, I had just met his parents. And so when I met Neal's parents, his dad was like, you know, what are your intentions with our son? And I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, they're not going to like me. And, but we both figure out that we both have an addiction. Like, he has an addiction, he has an opiate addiction, and I have just an everything addiction. And so, I remember bringing him to my mom and dad's house, right? my job, I worked for a grocery store as a deli manager, and Neal worked for a plumbing. It wasn't like he wasn't a plumber, but what they did was um, they sold like toilet bowls and showers, and he worked in this like warehouse thing. It was cool. He loved it, and it was a good job, and he got paid good money. But the same thing happened to him. He went in and he was on Xanax and fucked up. But what they did with him was, before they let him go, they offered him like to go to treatment. So listen to this. So he's like, okay, I'm going to take off this time. I'm going to go to treatment. Hey, Mom. Love you too. So his parents sent him to this like crazy place, you guys. It was like in the middle of nowhere. It was in Pocahontas, Arkansas. I'm talking like it was crazy. It was just too much. He went there. He made it. Can y'all hear me? I noticed that it was doing that. Hold on. Thank you, Sky Miller. How is it now, you guys? Okay, so he goes to this place in Pocahontas, right? And it was horrible. It was like, have you guys watched the documentary called The Group? It's like an occult. Well, this is the same situation where they sent Neal. And it was like Christmas time, right? And so I think he stayed there for like a week, and he was like, oh, hell no. And he jumped ship. And he ran back home. Remember that, Mom? So I'm not living with my mom. I stayed with my parents while he was gone into treatment because I had nowhere to go. And my mom and dad were like, you can't stay here long. Like when Neal gets out, you got to get gone. Because I took Neal's prescription. I went up to Hot Springs and I started slanging methadones, while I was living at my parents' house. I wasn't trying to change. I wasn't trying to be sober. I was just up there selling pills. Brandon, you can't be doing that now, honey. That's a thought. You can get past it. Now, that you don't act on the thought. When you have negative thoughts like that, you come and you reach out to somebody or call, a friend who's in recovery, or come over here and hang out with us. But you got to think about it like this. Like, relapsing is not worth it, you guys. And I know that when we struggle and we're going through a hard time, like maybe if we're depressed or we are having a fight with somebody we really care, as I would relapse after a long time of, after a little bit of sobriety, or I would get a couple days and my tolerance would go down, and then I would, pick up. Hey, Jeremy. And you guys, listen, like, I understand y'all are trying to help, but, here's how I feel about everything. And I'm just going to break away from this a second. When you get on Kratom, be ready, because here's the deal. It's just like any other medication. It attaches itself to your opioid receptors. So if that's something that's not FDA regulated and you get a hold of it and it has something else in it that could hurt you or make you have a stomach infection or anything like that. So just be careful. Like, I'm not a doctor and I can't tell you guys what to do, but please, 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 just be careful. Make good choices. I mean, if you're struggling with your recovery and you are abstinent and you're really, really struggling and you want to relapse, then my best advice would be to go and talk to a therapist or a doctor and get a medical advice, not like here on YouTube. So just be careful. So we're all grown and we all know, the deal. Just be careful. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. So appreciate everybody. Brandon, I'm praying for you, baby. I really don't think I think you know that what to do, and you know in your heart what you need to do. So, okay. So let me get back to the story. So, um, okay. So Neal goes to the crazy cult rehab, and that just doesn't work out. And he comes back, and me and my mom and Neal have a talk. We go and we sit with my mom. Neal drives up to Hot Springs to pick me up, and we sit with my mom, and we have a big like come to Jesus meeting where my mom just sits us down and she's like, you both are addicts. Being in a relationship with someone who is addicted is not going to save the other person. Oh, yeah, honey, he escaped all right. Let me tell you what they put him through. They put him in this van and they made him drive it. It had no brakes. There was a truck pulling it by a rope. It was the scariest thing he's ever been through. And we've been through a lot of scary stuff. And it was cold, icy. It was like really dangerous. And so when that happened, he was like, I am out of here. So we sat down with my mom, and my mom was just like, if you guys decide to date each other for real, this is going to be a struggle for you guys for the rest of your, until you guys get sober. You're going to struggle because when one person gets sober, the other person isn't going to always follow suit. And she was right, you guys. When we got together, I was just thinking, like, we can help each other. We can do this, right? And it didn't work like that. What happened was, it was like gasoline and fire. And we got together and we just started feeding off of each other's addictions. We started, using different drugs together. We started, doing really, really, really risky behaviors. We started, carrying guns and stuff with us and just dangerous stuff. Yeah, and what would happen was, like, we would want to be sober, right? And so we would both try. Okay, we're going to be sober. We're going to stop. We've taken all of our pills. They're gone. We don't get our refill until fucking 2 weeks from now. Let's do this now. Let's stop. And we would sober up, and then one of us would go, we've been doing so good, and we would co-sign the other's bullshit. You know what I mean? Share Bear, Neal actually has his concealed handgun license. And so he had a Glock, and 2 of them actually. And we had one that we kept in the back seat, in the back of the little pocket in the seat behind my seat. Bad idea. So what we would do was we would, go pick up our friends and stuff. Well, one night we went and picked up this dude to get some dope from him, and that bastard stole that gun. Oh my gosh, you guys. I remember how mad Neal got. I don't think I'd really ever seen him get this mad before, and it was so scary because I was like, he is pissed. He wanted to go, and this is how we were when we were on drugs. He wanted to go and kick the door in and kill everybody in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, out of our ever-loving minds. We would go to places and act like we were in the wild, wild west. Hey, Avalon, like we had no fear because we were strung out, y'all. We were methed out and Roxy'd out. So Neal had a couple of friends that I didn't know, right? So he started introducing me to his friends. Well, he decided to introduce me to this guy named Bushead. Big old black dude, about 500-600 pounds, right? Well, Bushead's mom was a doctor, and he knew how to write scripts. So y'all know what we did. We went on a tear all over the city, writing and filling them scripts. Well, Classy, that's the thing. When you're seeing stuff like that, you think you need a gun. I used to be so afraid of guns until Neal taught me how to shoot it. And he took me out to this park, right? And he put this little this thing on the tree, and I was like, pow, 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 pow. I was really good at it, y'all. It was like in my blood. I was like gangster. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah? Here's your crackers, son. Come get them. You're grown. Nathaniel, here. Here. If you want food, you can come down here and have some Fredo. Some Alfredo. No, you're not. Nana's on the computer, and she hears you. She's going to get you. Okay, so it was crazy, you guys. I didn't write any of those. I was scared to death. I wouldn't even go inside the store to pass it off because I had been to prison. So this is one thing that prison taught me. It taught me that I didn't never want to go back. So I didn't fuck with that shit. But I sure did take the pills, you know? And so we would run scams like this all the time, you guys, like together with other people. This was what our days consisted of. And I know, Mom, our days consisted of us, you know, figuring out how to hustle if we didn't have our own pills, because we were jobless, you guys. Okay, so that's like the first year of our relationship, okay? About a year and a half into our relationship, I got pregnant, okay? Maybe 2 years, about 2 years into our relationship, I got pregnant. And Neal's family, they are just like thinking I am crazy. They want me away from their son. It was just like I was the bad one, right? But really, it was both of us together. We were both exactly the same. Like, if you lined up me and Neal, I might have a little bit more on him, you know, like my addiction might have been a little bit more sketchy, like I might have done a little bit more bad stuff than him, but we were right neck and neck with each other. And the thing about him is he's real smart, as in like book smart, and he looks very put together. So go into places and never even get questioned. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, so I was like kind of sketchy looking. I was like looking like a hood rat because I had been, y'all, I had been out in them streets, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a family's house to go home to like he did. Like, my parents were like, you can't come back here. You know, that time I went and stayed with my parents was like very short-lived because my mom was like, you got to get out. You know, you're not straightening your life up. And that's one thing about mom, she always did. She was like, if you're not going to be straight, you can't come around. And she didn't bend on her word. And so I stayed out for a long time. Yeah, and he had this like young, preppy college boy look where people wouldn't really even think anything about him. Like, when I saw him, I was like, there's no way he has ever done a drug in his life. For real, y'all. But it was actually the farthest thing from the truth. Like, he was just as bad as me, if not worse. So we found out we were pregnant in 2013, and I gave birth to Nathaniel in July of 2014. I would like to say that I like stayed sober and that I was the perfect mom and I was such a good, you know, pregnancy, but I was not. When I got pregnant, I was probably the worst in my addiction I had ever been. And so when I got pregnant, the best thing I could do for my baby was not do opiates and not do Xanax. So I didn't do opiates and I didn't do Xanax, but I did meth the whole time I was pregnant with my son. And I am not proud of that at all. my justification and rationalization was that I wasn't doing Xanax and opiates, so he wouldn't come out addicted to those drugs. You know what I mean? That was how I told myself in my brain that what I was doing wasn't that bad. And then I would feel so bad. And Neal would try to make me stop. And I wouldn't stop. I would run away from the house and I wouldn't come home for days. When I found out I was pregnant, Neal's family let me move in. That's my mom, Cher. They let me move in and come sleep here. Because they wanted to make sure that their grandson was going to be okay. And we just got worse. Since I wasn't doing any opiates, I was just always tweaking. I was always wide awake. I was not eating right. I didn't gain weight until like my 7th month pregnant. I was very sick the whole time. I threw up every single morning. I got a job working at Sonic, and I was car hopping while I was pregnant, you guys. And I tried to prove to Neal's family that I was at least trying to work and be a part of the family and be productive. But I couldn't stop using, I couldn't stop. I really tried. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I tried a lot. And then I would stay sober for like a couple weeks, maybe, and then I would relapse. It was the same as it had always been. I was always trying to stay sober. I was always trying to get better, and then I would go back, I never ever thought I would get pregnant. I thought I wasn't able to have children. I thought I was sterile or something because I had had an abortion when I was 24 because I got pregnant when I was with LD, and I was so afraid to have a baby with him because I knew if I had a baby with him, he would beat my ass every day, and I was also really bad on methadone at that time. There's no excuse. I had an abortion. I'm not proud of it. It's something that I still think about to this day. And I'm just like, that's one of the things that I think, damn, man, I could have, maybe if I had done different and I had had that baby, I maybe would have gotten sober then. Or I might have not gotten sober and ruined that child's life. I'll never know. But I know now that I have repented and I've asked God to forgive me. And I have really looked back and realized that, I was searching for so much validation. I kept relapsing because I only wanted to change what I wanted to change. I only wanted to do half of what was suggested to me. Like, I would go into treatment and they would tell me, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And I would only do X. I wouldn't do the Y and the Z. And a lot of it was I couldn't change those people, y'all. I kept going away around the same people. My dad and my mom were good parents. They were there. My dad, like I said, he worked a lot when we were little, but by the time we were 7 and 8 years old, he was able to start being our coaches during softball and all kinds of things. He really took my parents took really good care of us. And it was as a child, I was very afraid. I was very paranoid. I was very uneasy. I had so much anxiety, you guys. As a young girl, I was constantly thinking that people were not liking me or looking at it was just I would think we were going to get robbed, right? We would be at the stoplight in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I would tell my mom, "Make sure you lock the doors because we're going to get carjacked." I would have these dreams where I would see premonitions of bad things happening to our family. And so I was so paranoid and scared as a young girl. I don't know why my imagination was like that. I don't know. I remember watching America's Most Wanted with my dad when I was a little girl. Maybe that could be it. I don't know. But I was always afraid of things happening. And you can ask my mom. She's in the comment section. She'll tell you. I used to be afraid to death to sleep by myself. I literally slept outside of my parents' door until I was 14 years old because I was so afraid to sleep in the dark by myself. I was afraid. And that anxiety and that fear carried on with me through life. So I gave birth to my son, and Caleb, or XC Trail, yeah, when you change everything, and you make, this is what I had to do, and I'm kind of gonna answer your question and say yes. When you change everything, you can stay sober. I am a living freaking testament of that. No, forget about me being on Suboxone. Forget all about all that. I was a methamphetamine addict. I haven't shot meth since I got sober in 3.5 years. July 13th of 2015 is Friday date. So I had Nate, and let me explain this to you guys. It's really important. When I gave birth to my son, the first miracle that was that God ever showed me happened that day. When I gave birth to my son, I was under the influence. I was high on meth. I had Xanax in my system. I had methadone in my system. When I gave birth to my son, he was absolutely clean. He had no drugs in his system. He was perfect. His heartbeat was fine. He was perfect. The only thing that happened was when I was giving birth, he poo-pooed inside my belly, and some of it got into his little mouth, and they had to like do this thing because sometimes the babies will do that. They'll get it's called meconium, and so that was the only thing that happened. My son came out completely sober, completely clean, nothing in his system, which was a miracle because I was high when I gave birth. I had just gotten high the night before, and then went into labor that morning at 5 a.m. I was in labor from 5 a.m. on July 3rd morning till midnight, July 4th. It was just like the most painful labor it was like all in my back. It felt like an alien was trying to bust out of the back end of my back. It was like nothing I've ever felt in my life. And then I was tweaking on top of that. So my senses were even more like, so I gave birth to my son, and I was so afraid, you guys. I knew they were going to take him from me. That's what I thought. I thought they're going to drug test my baby, and they're going to drug test me, and they're going to take my son. Second miracle that God made happen. They sent me home with my son. I don't know what happened. It was the weekend of July. It was July 4th when I gave birth to my son. His birthday is July 4th. It was a holiday. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they overlooked it. I don't know. But I got to take Nate home. And from July 4th till July 2nd the next year, I bonded with my son. I learned how to breastfeed him. I learned how to change diapers. I loved him so much. But I couldn't stay sober. I brought my son home. My mom came and stayed with me for a week. And I went and got Xanax, took some Xanax, and almost fell asleep on top of my kid, newborn baby, and I remember my mom coming in the room and being like, oh my God, you almost fell off the couch with Nate. And you got to be careful, Nicole. I know you're tired. And I was just like, so, I don't know how to explain it other than that I didn't know how to be sober. I didn't know what to do. I knew that I wanted to be sober, but I didn't have anything that was pushing me to do it. I had this baby that was stressing out. I didn't know how to take care of the baby. I was scared. I was unequipped. I had Neal, who was doing the same thing I was doing, so that was even more stress. Then I had his family who was looking at me out the side of their neck. So I was screwing up. Bottom line, I was screwing up. I take full responsibility for that. I was running off. I wasn't coming home. I was leaving Nate here and not coming home and taking care of him. I was just screwing up. I was trying to stop, but then I wouldn't try. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would try, but then I would want to still do Xanax. I would try, but then I would still want to take a pill every now and then. I was just out of control. My addiction was so strong that I was out of control. 2 days before my son's first birthday, I got a phone call from Child Protective Services. And they told me that I needed to come down and bring my son because they needed to drug test me. I thought I knew this was going to happen. I went down there and I took a drug screen and I failed for benzos and opiates. And I asked them who called, who reported me, because that's how those things happen. Somebody has to report you. They didn't tell me who reported me, but they told me what the person said. So then I knew who it was. It was my friend who was also in active addiction. She called and reported me for neglect. And then they came to my house and they gave Neal a drug screen, and he also failed for benzos and opiates. And so they said, you know what, we're not going to take your kid because you're not on meth, but you need to get into treatment. That's what they told me. And they told Neal he needed to get help too. But he could do outpatient and he needed to have a job. So right then, that day, they came back. That day they told me I needed to get in treatment. They come back the next day and they say, you know what? We're taking your kid. I fucking freaked out. Right then, I knew I wasn't passing go. I wasn't collecting $200. I was going to treatment. They gave me like this false sense of hope that because I didn't fail for meth, that we were going to be able to, we would still be in the system, but we would just, have to be I would have to go to like meetings and get a sponsor and take drug screens, and they were going to be like watching us like that. Then they came back the next day and they took him. And I was just like so unprepared. I didn't know what to do. We tried to get him to be able to go to parents, but they said his parents were too old. My parents were in New York at the time. They didn't live here. So it was just like, I was devastated, y'all. But you know what? I'm going to keep it 100% real with y'all. That devastation, that had to happen. It was what kicked my butt over the edge to make the change. It's unfortunate that I had to put my son through getting taken away from me, and I'm ashamed of that. Like, I feel I'll never be able to live it down. I deal with the shame and the guilt every day. I try to do it. I try to be the perfect mom. I try to buy him everything and take care of him and spend time with him and take him places and all kinds of things just to make up for him not being with me. I took him and I gave him to the people, and I looked at the lady and I was just like, please take me to treatment. And hey Jamie, she took me to the detox in Little Rock and dropped me off. And I went to detox, and I don't even remember if I don't remember it being any harder than any of my other detoxes. I stayed there for 6 days because I was going to get out on a Sunday. But if I had gotten out on Sunday, I wouldn't be able to go to the center. I would have to go home. And I knew if I went home, I was going to relapse, you know? So I was like, you know what? Can I please stay here? I don't want to go home. If I go home, I'm going to get high. And they were like, sure, you can stay here. Hey, Anessa, welcome. Thank you. And y'all, I'm not brave. Like, seriously, I'm just sharing this with you guys because I think that, well, one, because I know that there's other girls that have been through the same thing. And two, because it helps me, you know? It helps me, but you guys help me to be able to tell the story because I get so many comments of people being so supportive and loving. And, you know, of course, sometimes I get bad comments, but I'm telling you guys, the support outweighs the negativity. And somebody helped me. And so that's why I want to help other people, because someone did the same thing for me for free. They just helped me because it helped them stay sober. So I went into detox, got out of detox 6 days, stayed 6 days, and I went straight over into the rehab from there. And oh my gosh, I would like to say that, you know, all the fuckery was over, but you know, Nicole, it wasn't over yet. So I think what we're going to have to do, I did not think I would go over today into a fourth part, but what I'm going to do is tomorrow's going to be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, y'all, or it's going to be the light at the end of the tunnel. So tomorrow we'll pick up and we'll do the fourth installment, and it will be the end. That's going to be the last chapter. But I think this will be good because the next chapter is going to be like, it's going to have some rockiness at the beginning, but y'all will see everything pulls out at the end. And when I think about it, you know what, you guys, I know that I had to go through every single thing. Or if you guys want to, what we can do is tomorrow, at the end of tomorrow's video, if you guys have questions, you guys can like send them to me. I almost lost my daughter too. That's what saved my life. Awful at the time. I almost lost my daughter too. That's what saved my life. It's awful at the time, but it was the work of the Lord. He saved my life. Yeah, I really think that's what I truly believe is that, you know, God was doing for me what I could not do for myself. Did the video shut off? Hey guys, are y'all still here? Okay, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Oh my gosh, it's like on 22%. Okay, anyway, my makeup's all running and I'm all a mess. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, you guys. So tomorrow, hey Brandon, I do sometimes, thanks Kit Kat, love you girl. You guys don't understand how much I appreciate y'all coming over here and listening to me, because I don't know, it just helps to see y'all's comments while I'm telling the story, and then it also helps to go back and read the comments afterward, because a lot of you guys have been through some of the same things I have gone through, you know, and it really helps me to read your comments and see, you know, that y'all have gone through it too. It's so, it's very, it makes me feel better. It's just very, it helps. So tomorrow we will do part 4. That will be the last part. I'm not dragging it out anymore. I'm not trying to either. Today, I love you too, Brandon, and you can do this. You just got to listen to me. You know, we have bad days. That's part of recovery. Not every day is going to be, you know, a good day. Some days we're going to fucking not like being sober. Some days we're going to want to get high. But you know what? Today we have the power to make good decisions. We can choose today to live clean. And that's what we're going to all do today. Look at all of us. There was 20 people tonight in the live stream, you guys, and we were all here living clean. We've all made the decision today to stay sober, and we're here in a live stream doing a little meeting, like, you know. So look at my son's tent. You know, my boy mom, I got stuff all over the house. But tomorrow night we'll do chapter 4, 6 p.m., same time. And then after that live tomorrow night, we'll do a Q&A. And you guys can ask any questions you want to ask me, okay? And after we finish up the Q&A, then what we're going to do next week is we're going to start doing step 1. And I'm going to just kind of do a step 1 introduction. We're going to talk about, you know, surrender. We're going to talk about how important it is to take the first step all the way, because we can't hang on to any reservations. So I'm proud of you, Brandon. See, that's what you did. You used one of your coping skills, which is, you know, coming on here and being with us. And that's what, sometimes you guys, that's what we got to do, you know, and it's not lame. It's not crazy. It's like what we got to do, because we don't want to die. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 6, and I really appreciate all y'all for being here. So thank you so much. Bye.